Howdy folks, Scanner here, which you definitely fucking know if you're watching the channel. Today I am joined by Mike Franchina, creator and mind behind Trench Crusade. And we're going to talk about whatever random junk crosses our mind, but mostly looking back at like the last year. It's been a bit of a crazy year. So how are you actually doing in this moment, Mike?
I'm doing all right. I get up pretty early especially because the team is in Europe and I'm the only American person, so everyone's up at like, I don't know. I think they wake up at like 1:00 a.m. my time or something.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's pretty early days, so I can have time to like talk with them and stuff. But yeah, everything's going really well.
There's a lot on the cards right now for anybody who thinks that like this is somehow in a calm state of winding down because the Kickstarter's all been delivered and the rulebook is on the horizon and all that kind of stuff. They appear to be like way off. There's a huge amount of organization and planning going into the next stages.
Yeah, like when it was just like me, Tuomas, and James, when we were working on like the lead up to the Kickstarter was pretty busy, but it wasn't this busy, surprisingly. Like now we have because there's all these things, like when you want to have something printed by a company, you have to have it done like months and months in advance, So that's the kind of stuff we're dealing with now. And so it's kind of a lot of like tons of planning, and especially if we want like additional illustrators for stuff, like you can't just like, hey, I need this in 2 weeks, because like especially like the best people have like these long lead times that like where they, hey, I already have a job with somebody else, I can't do that for like 6 months or even longer. Some people are like booked years in advance. So yeah, there's a lot of planning now, which I'm not very good at. I've just made my first schedule ever.
Oh God.
I actually had to make a schedule because I like couldn't hold the amount of tasks like in my head anymore, and I had to write it down.
There's too many people wanting too many things.
Yeah.
So obviously, and most recently, I guess, the biggest thing has been the plastics.
Yeah.
That's like, I wouldn't have predicted that from the outside that would have happened so fast. So what was that process like? Can you give folks a bit of insight into how that decision was made to just get after it? Because frankly, a big successful Kickstarter, you could have just fucking sat back on a pile of money, dude. Like that cost, obviously.
Well, I don't think anybody really wanted to just do that. And we wanted to, especially like if we're gonna make a go of this, I never want to have to go back to a regular job after this. I don't want to work at another video game company, like I've done before. And I've worked at some nice ones, and like I've had some great art directors and stuff, but it's always at the end of the day, it's like, it's not your thing. So my whole thing is like, I just never want to have to go back to a regular job. So I want to keep doing this for as long as possible. So, with the Kickstarter, a lot of people bought STLs, it's true, but the majority of people bought physical stuff. So making the plastics just seemed like the way to go. And like, what is it? What's that word? Like, quality control on plastics is way easier. You get less errors. You get the material is kind of nicer. You can do some things in 3D printing that you can't do in plastic. You can have like very thin things that you couldn't really do. But the thing is, like, we couldn't really make those anyway because they have to get delivered, and then it would just like snap. You could make it at home, like whatever, fine. But like to make something that's going to be essentially mass produced for all these people, it's just easier to do the plastics. And so we have a great team of guys and gals who are working on those. I just kind of chime in with some I don't really know anything about manufacturing plastics, so I just chime in on like aesthetic stuff to make sure they look cool, as best as they can. So
I was very excited when the Prussians were announced to see how well sculpted everything was. you can run the risk of there's a blockiness, there's a lack of call it like grace, I think, sometimes to the lines on a sculpt. You see it a lot in like board games are kind of famous for the miniatures included are functional rather than aesthetic. And I don't know why kind of I was so happy to see how close everything was to the concept art and how the spirit of all the models was still in there. And I think maybe it's because we had the art reveals, so that notion of that's the miniature lives in your head for quite a while. Was there any temptation to like deviate and maybe like flirt with new ideas for the Prussians, or were you pretty happy with what you had locked in?
No, see those, because the Prussians, a lot of the problem ran into, because like I know what you're talking about. Like there was the Heretic Priest mini is very different from the Heretic Priest art.
Yeah,
And we got a lot of flack for that. And for me, I love the original Heretic Priest art. But like some of this stuff is old for me. You know, it's like 8 years old, or you know, some of it even older. So I don't have the same level of like love maybe that some people do when they see that stuff. I'm like, to me, it just looks like this old thing that I'm like, we could kind of do better. And for the Heretic Priest especially, my thought was like, he looks cool, that art, but he's got like the big glowing rune over his head.
yeah,
He looks cool, but my issue with him was like that by the time I had designed all the rest of the Heretic stuff, they had taken on this little slightly more industrial vibe, right? Where they have this like rusty armor, and they have, you know, they have like machines and things like weapons and who knows what. And when I had drawn that original priest, like he wasn't for the Heretic Legion guys.
Yeah.
Really, he was that was originally made for this. It was called the It was like another hell faction called the Black Pulpit, right? Because I had been in Munich, and there's this church, and it's this big white church, and it has this big black pulpit like on the wall, and it was very odd to me, and I was like, that's cool. We should maybe do something with that. Anyway, I thought it should be more industrial looking, like the rest of the guys, like the grunts, but nobody really was happy with that.
Yeah, I understand a lot of where that comes from. As I said, people fall in love with the concept art sometimes.
Yeah.
There can be a disconnect between what creatives understand concept art to be, which is a concept, and what us viewing public sometimes consider the concept art to be, which is the first thing we fall in love with. It's like the artillery witch. You know, everybody wants that like floating bomb, and I've seen a couple of people kind of wondering, oh, you know, the sculpts always like compromise this, that, and the other, and it's like, yeah, because you need the bomb. Like, you know, the bomb has to be somewhere, and you can't have an anti-gravity device tucked away inside the goddamn miniature. Yeah. So
there was one fan-made sculpt that did a pretty good job where they like attached it to her horn. Yes, I think. And like that one looked really cool, but to me it looked very precarious and easily snappable. So,
hugely delicate to send anywhere.
Yeah, that's why we didn't do that. You know, I wish we could do an anti-gravity artillery witch bomb so we could just perfectly match the art.
Yeah, someone's gonna do it, I guarantee, with those little kind of floating magnet setups for holding photos.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea.
I think people will end up doing one of those, and I would do it if I could sculpt Word to Damn, but I can't. So it definitely is what it is. I guess we'll run through like a quick, maybe like kind of a checklist of the things that I think must be very kind of demanding. The printed rule book was super interesting. I was watching it wasn't even that old. It was an interview with a guy who worked on like White Dwarf back in the day. And it's really fun listening to people who have worked so much in the industry talking about printing, because I have almost no understanding of printing. And I got kind of some insight into the things that can go wrong. And he was talking about how at almost every step of the printing process back then, they would lose some color essentially,
Oh
from
yeah.
what it was that they were trying to do. So they'd have these photos of battle reports, and it would be like, by the time it got into the magazine, it would be like this washed out thing. Um, how was that for you? Had so much art from so many sources, and you're trying to get it all to a consistent print level. That must be its own kind of headache.
Yeah, I mean that like the color, we had like one issue with the color at the end, and it wasn't like a deal breaker or anything, but it was like wasn't like quite perfectly matching what was in the art, but it still looked good. The main issue for me was that a lot of the art I had originally made was drawn for like kind of social media formats, right? Because that's where I mainly posted it, right? Before this was ever a game or anything. So when it came to make a book, I had to like resize a lot of the art to fit the page correctly. So there was a lot of me like the layout guy would be like, the layout guy Spirit on would be like, hey, I need you to like adjust this so it fits the page appropriately. And I'm like, again, like I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. So there was a lot of that because like they were all weird formats and like nothing was for print, right? Because for print you need like a certain DPI and you need like whatever. They were very high res. I made sure of that at least, but like everything, it was like it was kind of like shoehorned into the book. It looks good, but like it was not made for print originally. Yeah. So there was a lot of that. Yeah.
Something of a hodgepodge collage of stuff across the years.
Yeah.
It's definitely. I kind of noticed in the digital warband and rule book that you mentioned the resizing. I noticed a lot of kind of cutouts of the art with like a slice of background left somewhere. Was that like a compromise on that sometimes?
No, that style was done specifically for the digital book. The warband, the rule book looks different than the digital rules. So that was done for that. Yeah, no, it does. I think it's just easier to lay out and stuff. So because the rule book, the printed rule book is like the Cadillac or whatever. It's like we spared no expense. You know, we had tons of incredible illustrators on the team, like Paul Bonner, Des Henley, who used to work on Warhammer and stuff, and like Adrian Smith and Paolo Parente, all these like super talented guys, and among others, of course. Everybody was great on the project. So we really, like, we didn't really even have like a budget. I was just like, we're just gonna go all out and make like a really nice rule book that feels like something amazing. Because I don't really play Warhammer anymore. I played when I was younger, but over the years, like they've kind of gone away from this sort of lushly illustrated books to more like photographs of miniatures, which I find kind of lame personally. Because I like illustrations and art. So, and the same thing with D&D, I feel is getting more and more like less lushly illustrated. So that was something we wanted to do, was make sure it felt like really lushly illustrated. Like just about every page there's something on the page, so
something
except
beautiful.
for a few pages. Yeah, it's something beautiful, and like the way it's arranged by Spirit on, it looks really beautiful. And like we have this other guy, Victor, who's this graphic designer. He's this kind of amazing talent. You've probably maybe seen some of his stuff on our Instagram. He does like woodcuts and stuff every now and again, and like literally makes like a woodcut out of linoleum, I guess. So it's a linoleum cut, but he's a very talented guy. So he did all the calligraphy in the book is handwritten by Victor, which is like sounded like a great idea at the time, but it looks amazing, but it just definitely took a long time.
I'm pretty sure he did the outline on the shorts that I use.
Yeah.
From the OG trailer, there was this little like kind of swirly outline thing, and I just like when he sent me that asset to put it in the trailer, I was like, yoink. I can use this for my stuff. But yeah, no, I had people asking me, like, it's funny, like I get asked questions I can't possibly know the answer to, so it's fun to get them answered now. When the digital books came out, people were asking me like, is this what the full rule book is going to look like? And I was like, I don't fucking know. So this is really fun now because it's a different layout. There's new art in there. There's it's its own literally premium experience.
Yep. And for the Kickstarter, for the people who backed on the Kickstarter, we included an additional thing for them specifically.
Nice.
So like whenever we go and make like whatever it is, like what do they call it? Issue 2 or print run 2 or whatever. Second edition of the book, it won't have that thing that was, that we made for the Kickstarter people. So
that was unique.
Yeah. And it's not like a chapter or anything, but it is just like a little thing in there that we made specifically for the Kickstarter backers. So
nice.
That was really fun to be able to do. Yeah.
It sounds like when you give the when the art guy is in charge of the budget, there's a lot of budget for art, basically.
Yeah. Well, we're eventually going to have to make a budget for these books, but because there was a lot of like, and also like figuring out who's like the right people for the job, So, but yeah, that was the plan, was to make, and everyone was in agreement. It wasn't just me like, we must have this, and everyone's like, no, it must look cheap and lame. Everyone was on board. So, but yeah, it's been really fun to really make something that felt like a really just kind of beautiful tome kind of thing,
Nice. What's been like the highlight of I was going to say of the year, but I won't limit outside of obviously the initial Kickstarter, which must have felt fucking incredible when that occurred. But what's been what's been your own holy grail, maybe like to get a certain picture done or to get to work with a certain person, or like what's been that standout moment of like, Jesus, I can't believe this is real?
I'm still kind of like, I still don't think it's real. And I think for me, I'm most excited. I'm most excited about for the book finally being delivered to everyone. That's what I've been waiting for, So once that should be happening very, 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 very soon. So that's what I'm most looking forward to.
Nice. You're looking forward to the break you get to take after that happens.
Yeah. Well, that book was done a couple months ago, so we're working on a bunch of other stuff now. So, yeah, maybe a break next year. I'll get a break next year at some point.
Nice. To balance out the highlight question, what's been a kind of have there been any like lowlights essentially? Have there been any moments where you were like, Jesus, like, why am I even doing this to myself?
Well, I mean, I'll be honest, like when we did the Kickstarter, it was a lot of work leading up to it. But when we got Jamie on board. Jamie, he set up the Kickstarter and all this stuff. And so he took, we actually would have never released the Kickstarter, I think, if Jamie hadn't come on board, because me, Tuomas, and James, we couldn't have done it, among all our other tasks.
Yeah.
So once that happened, and like it was a ton of work, and then going up to like all this year working on the book was a ton of work. And what I didn't realize, was how much like time the business stuff was going to take up for me. So when I was working back when I was before we did the Kickstarter and I quit my job in the video game industry, I would do everything at night after work. And I was like, when we finally go, if we can finally go full time on this, I'll have all this time to draw. And that just hasn't really been proven true. So like, that's the thing I'm trying to change in the future, so I have more time, because there's so many different little tasks like business things and signing contracts and all these things that I didn't even know I would have to do. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to being able to move some of those tasks away and having more time to just like focus on the design stuff for like blue sky design things. That's kind of what I'm always most interested in. So that's what I'm looking forward to in the future.
Less of the management on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jamie, actually, I feel like Jamie is a little bit of like the an unsung hero
Hmm.
for the community that maybe not many people know about, because that area of like what to do and when to do and how to do a Kickstarter and a crowdfunding thing, it's a hugely specialist knowledge, and it's only like a tiny part of the stuff that Jamie knows about.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Jamie's awesome. Like, if we didn't have him on the team, like, the Kickstarter would just never would have happened in the first place. So, um, and he's done a great job, like, getting everything like fulfilled for everyone. I know, like, there are some people like, or maybe like a year is a long time to get my minis and stuff. But in the grand scheme of things, in my opinion, a Kickstarter in a year is really good, because I've waited like multiple years to get my stuff. But for me, I'm kind of different, where I just like, I'll back it and then like forget about it, and then it shows up on my door and I'm like, oh sweet.
Yeah, I do that a lot. I do that. I do that a lot, and my wife dislikes that aspect of me. Is what I will say. But I've also not to not to downplay anybody who has been waiting or waited and was unhappy. That's
Yeah.
each to their own. Like, I've backed projects that have just ethered.
Yeah.
Like, they've just disappeared. The money's gone, and you're sitting there and you're like, why did I do that? Why did I?
Yeah.
Why did I give them anything? I'm not going to name any names, but there's certain French companies I could talk about right now. So yeah, that's definitely it's definitely kind of, I don't know. I just think the more people know about Jamie and his kind of role and what he, like, just the work that he has done, the better. It's like every artist, every sculptor, every rules writer, every story writer, everybody gets their credit.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
one of the things that I've loved about when I opened the digital book, and there was the little initials of every artist beside the piece. I thought that was like a
Yeah.
really nice touch.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever played D&D 3.5. When I was first starting as an illustrator back in like the early 2000s, that was the edition that was like the one, like the new edition. And they used to do that. They would have the initials on the page, like right next to the illustration. And it's a little clunky, like, but it's very subtle in the book. And it's just kind of like a nice thing to do. Like, why not? It takes like a little extra effort on our part, but like, it's just a nice thing to do, I think. And as an illustrator, I appreciate that stuff, so I'm always coming at it from that angle. Like, I used to be an illustrator that didn't get paid a lot of money, and so
Yeah.
like, I can understand that angle of things.
So, right, that's all the like meaty product stuff we'll say, kind of, that I had in my head. What I want to talk about now is the stuff that I'm here for and everybody's here for, which is the actual like world of Trench Crusade, which I find kind of fascinating. And one of the things that I really like about the game, mechanically and narratively and all that kind of stuff, is the concept of the unreliable narrator, which I feel, based off, because I'm in a kind of a unique experience because I see so much feedback in the comments.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I feel like there's stuff I know about the public perception of Trench Crusade that ye might not even know.
Oh, I'm sure you're right. Yeah.
Because, there's thousands of comments a month rolling in on the videos. And one of
Yeah.
the things that people get confused about is the notion of an unreliable narrator, meaning that there's no like official lore in the game.
Yeah. I mean, we obviously, like, we have official things that we write, but like, you don't know whose perspective it's from or what their like agenda is in the universe, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you kind of have to take everything you read with a little bit of a grain of salt, I think, in our lore. So
Yeah, there can
which
be
I think is fun.
yeah, there can be some bias in there.
Yeah.
One of the things that I like to do is when you put out the official lore, I've got like quotes from random characters that I make in the world that like just, you do some lore on the Crusades or on the Crusaders, and I'm like, here's a quote from a random Crusader.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. It builds up the lore a little bit, like as it gives some contrast maybe to what I'm talking about in that moment, and it's on screen, and it's just fun to be able to do that. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most inviting things about the world of Trench Crusade is it's so open to the personalized narratives that make campaign play and world building between friends so much fun.
Yeah. And I think the setting itself is really invites a lot of people in because like one, religion is like a very I don't know. It's not like I guess it is kind of a hot topic, but everyone kind of knows a little bit about religion, I think,
Yeah.
Christianity or otherwise. Even if it's just like everybody kind of celebrates Christmas in America, and that's like a religious holiday, so like, even if it's just that much, so even if you don't believe or anything, like you probably know a little bit about it. So you can, and there's so much like rich history there that you can take any cool, weird, there's all these weird stories in the Bible, like, what was it, Jezebel like got killed and like the dogs came and like licked up her blood, like you could make a whole war band about that, like Jezebel's like raiders or something, I don't know.
Yeah, there's it's very rich history. It's by design, religion has that like obviously an extremely strong moral concept, so the storytelling builds itself. I think that's why it's so fun. These trench pilgrims
Yeah.
firmly don't like communicants. Okay, why is that? Like, why don't they like communicants? And it all just builds on itself so readily.
Yeah.
It's very exciting that way, and it's very easy to transplant, I think, for most of us, some of our, like, I was raised Catholic, so I have a lot of thoughts on Christianity. I've got like the stereotypical Catholic guilt, I think,
Right.
kicks in. So when I look at your world that you're creating, I see a lot of people talking about a lack of like named characters. That's something that they wish Trench Crusade had a little bit more of, was this notion of like named characters. And I always reply to them and go, no, the named characters, that's your guys. Like your warband are the named characters. Do you think that's some kind of fair feedback to them, or?
Well, I can understand them wanting sort of like I think because when you have like a named character, it kind of gives you like you could have more of like a story or something that like it's not just like a big giant world. There's like a specific story in the world, which I could understand people wanted more of. But at the same time, you got to kind of be careful because you run the risk of like, what is it in 40K? They have like all the Primarchs and stuff. And it's like, or in Star Wars, it's like, oh, Luke Skywalker and his Skywalker family are like, the whole universe or the whole galaxy revolves around them and like basically like 6 people. It's like 3 families and 6 people, and they're always at these important events. And that to me just seems completely bizarre because like, especially in a war, it's like this huge thing with millions of people in it, and they all have interesting stories and stuff. So name characters, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. If people want that, that's cool.
Yeah, it's just, you are right though. It is kind of funny, like in the Trench Crusade kind of setting, and even in the Warhammer 40K setting, there's such a degree of plot armor involved in simple survival.
Yeah.
That's what I've noticed with my little series that I write, my Hand of Fate thing. I'm constantly just coming up with ways to expose the characters to the dangers of the world of Trench Crusade, and then somehow have them not die. I gotta get them to the end of the end of this month's episode or whatever, so there's something for people to come back to.
Right. Well, you could always just do. I remember, what was that? I was reading Game of Thrones, and it was like oh man, because he wrote it like every chapter was like a new character's kind of POV.
Yeah.
And so you'd like get through this chapter, you're like, man, I love this character. It's so good. And then he'd like swap to another character. I'm like, but no, I loved that one. I want to keep reading that. And then you'd like get to the end of the new chapter. You're like, oh, I love this guy. You know, and it just kept like switching. And then he'd kill one of them off. And you're like, what are you
Why?
doing?
I'd love to do that, but I don't have the writing chops of a George R. R. Martin just yet. Wish I did. Not quite there yet. One of the things I think about all the time with regards to Trench Crusade are like we have famous historical people that exist in the world of Trench Crusade the same way, like, you know, Nelson is a great example. Dude bought it, and you know it is what it is, but he was there. So I like to think about like Shakespeare. If Shakespeare exists in the world of Trench Crusade, what's that dude writing about? Like I don't think he's off like poking holes in demons. I think he's still writing plays, but what those plays are would be wild.
Yeah, I imagine they'd be like sort of church sanctioned propaganda plays or something like that. That's my guess.
Like I really like I was talking about it with my wife one night, and she came up with the idea that they'd actually be like very close to what they were, but there'd always be some editing. Like the voice in Macbeth's head was a little demon, like telling him to go and do the killing. There'd always be that like church good element to everything. And I thought that was like pretty neat. But it's just, I can't help but think about those things because the world is not, it's often quite consumed by the war effort, but there's still like huge parts of it where people are just living people lives. And yeah, they're probably paying like a degree of tax so that somebody in New Antioch can catch an axe in the face. But they're just going about their lives. They might live their whole life and never see the reality of it up close.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely like things like newspapers and photographs and stuff that people would be exposed to. So they might see a photograph of a demon that like a combat photographer took on the front line, you know, and there's like there's like films and stuff, you know, like imagine like really crude black and white propaganda films that like the ministry for the hell are they called? Ministry for the Propagation of Virtue, you know, that they're making. So people, and like, you know, there's like in Starship Troopers, they have all those great propaganda films, like, you know, where they're talking about like the weakness of the bugs and how they have like great technology to fight them and stuff. So I could see like films like that.
That's a really neat idea where they would like produce these movies and they'd be like big gatherings in everywhere from like small to medium sized towns. Maybe there's like a, you know, a mobile cinema type deal.
Oh yeah.
And they go around and they like, you know, this is the war effort. You know, the church is fighting for your, fighting for your souls here. I'll be honest. I'm a pretty simple creature when I look at the world of Trench Crusade. I like good guys. I grew up with like, you know, Arnie movies and Sylvester Stallone movies, and good guys were good guys, and they punched bad guys, and yeah, they, you know, there was some like anti-hero vibes in there. They normally drop a lot of bodies, but they were good guys, and I can't help but kind of default into thinking about the church in that role. Are they
it's like a typical.
Are they crazy? Yeah. But they're not evil. That's evil. You know, the 600-pound monster trying to eat your face is evil.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that like the demons and shit are evil, you know. But the things that the church does aren't necessarily good either. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's that fun question of like, how far do you go how much of your humanity are you willing to lose? Essentially, that's what I love about like characters and creations like the Observers, who are the furthest thing from human by the time it's all said and done. Like when they're wearing that helmet and they're just being assaulted by the echoes of like the sounds of creation and stuff, and they're just monster hopping around the battlefield in my head. Like Observers are the unit that I'm obsessed with. Like they're by far my favorite one, and they just seem so terrifying. Like the idea that they know what you're going to do before you even do it. I don't know kind of how you deal with that, but it's that subtle inhumanity about them that's so scary. They look like people, and if they take their mask off, they're 100% people, but Jesus, they can do some shit that people can't do.
Yeah.
And that's what makes them so much fun.
Yeah. I mean, like and for me, I'm just really into, if I can make something sacrilegious or gory or horrible in some way, that's the stuff I'm into. So that's what I'm always trying to do. So, even the good guys are like, they think they're 100% good. You know what I mean? Like they don't think what they're doing is bad in any way. So they'll do whatever it takes to get what they need,
Yeah, I love it.
But yeah, if I can spin that in a way that is fucked up, then I will do that.
Yeah, I think that's something that's lost on a percentage of people sometimes. Is the appeal is like the one word I see used quite a bit sometimes is like this idea that something is like grim derp, where it's so dark it's come out the other side as being like almost kind of funny. And to me, that's the goddamn point. Like, you 100% want to push that far. And yes, it is kind of derpy, but Nightmare on Elm Street was derpy. Halloween was like all this stuff was derpy. Like Clive Barker books, derpy.
Yeah. I mean, I make no apologies for making, like, it is definitely a lot of the times very, very goofy. You know? And so I enjoy it. So
yeah, I think that's what kind of keeps it fun and approachable and makes it something that people really want to engage with, because there's so many flavors within the stuff that's been created. Some of the stuff is just like, the whole the sniper priests are just like absolutely so cool. That whole idea of you want to know how much I believe? This is how much I believe. Bunk. Love it. And then like being so effective and all that kind of stuff, just absolutely great. And then the whole like human antennas thing.
Oh yeah.
That's where it starts to get like, people who really like the horror can vibe with that. So it's great. It's just a really good buffet of inspirations and influences and even vibes. Like if somebody wants a very straight-laced, by the book bunch of trench pilgrims, they can actually do that.
Yeah.
If they really want to, they can have the accountant's version of trench pilgrims. No problem.
That's actually kind of a cool idea, actually. Like they're like calculating how many they've taken out, and they're like, we need to get to this number, and then we can go home or something.
Yeah, they have this grand number in their mind of like, this is what we're all here for. Let's get it done. And maybe they're a little bit indiscriminate in how it is they go about achieving that, but that's just efficiency.
They were definitely heretics, right?
Definitely put them in the book. So I'm gonna guess there's not like a tremendous amount that you're gonna be able to say about some of the stuff I'd love to talk about, but people will be legitimately mad at me if I do not bring up something like the next kind of details, like around things like the temple, especially the Temple of Metamorphosis. People go crazy for that shit.
Yeah.
It's probably the most hyped unknown in the game right now. I would put it like Metachrists at number 1. Everybody wants to know about Metachrists, and then the temple at number 2, because it's so. It appears to be. I can't say it's so. We don't know anything about it yet, but it appears to be challenging within the way that the world has been built and developed and all the rest of it. It's a thing that can almost exist outside of the hell circle if it wants to.
Yeah.
And I think people are very curious to see kind of how that plays out. So if every faction can be argued to have like themes, what would be the overarching theme of the temple? What would you seek to explore there artistically?
Well, the way I picture them is sort of like these, I don't know what you even call it, sort of like scholarly types, right? I know they look horrific, but that was kind of my thought, was that they look horrific, but they're like these scholarly types that are always like trying to learn and like sort of better themselves, even if at least they think they're bettering themselves, even if they look like weird bug creatures or whatever. We're still working on them, and it's something I'm obviously very keen to do, but they're still not. We don't have a lot to discuss really about them, unfortunately.
That's probably good though, because now everybody in the comments can argue that their fan theory is going to be correct.
Right. I have seen some very cool fan theories. I will say, but for them, to me, because they add this like interesting wrinkle into the expected sort of cosmology of this that we've kind of put forward of these sort of like Abrahamic faiths. I really enjoy that sort of strange wrinkle where it's kind of like this unexpected thing.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure we have enough time to really, really, really get them right, because in the beginning, it was just me coming up with stuff that I thought was cool. And it's still very much like that, but there's other people involved now. And the lore I had come up with, as cool as I thought it was more like just like a 1-sentence blurb on the art that was like evocative, and it did make sense, but like I never really put it down on paper to be read, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
It was more like you had to look at all the art and you had to read all the blurbs, and if you did that, you had like a pretty good idea maybe of like what the Trench Crusade universe was like. But now those things are getting like expanded, right? Like and in some cases like there's just like more stuff being written about them. So to get this faction right, I think it's just got to be really careful with it and make sure it's just right. Yeah.
Yeah, they feel delicate in how they will fit in, as you said, because of that wrinkle. And there's irony to it, is that the reason why people are so into them, a hugely strong visual language in the design, essential alien to everything else that we've seen. I don't mean like extraterrestrial. I mean like the more generous interpretation of the concept of alienness. And it's that very lack of definition in the known lore that allows people to kind of transplant their desires to see certain themes explored within the world of Trench Crusade.
Yeah.
It's like, this is going to sound a bit like wanky maybe, and I apologize to anybody who thinks that, but I've noticed that war games in general are spoken a lot as products and as systems, but not so often as art. That's like a missing element sometimes of the discussions that occur around them. And I think that's a shame, because there's such a fabulously rich history of literal artwork from wargaming, and also the writing can be like really fun and really interesting and kind of even challenging at times, especially depending on where you are in your life when you meet it. So like you've brought in people with rich writing pedigrees at this point in time, both in wargaming and outside of it. You've got like your Andy Chambers and your Rick Priestleys, and you've got your Graham McNeils. Like, can we hope at some point to see like massive expansions on lore and narrative and storytelling, potentially in the form of books and things like that?
Like, yeah, I mean, I think that would be something really awesome to do. We're not really ready to talk about any. I know I have to do this like corporate answer.
That's okay. I'm just hitting you with the questions so people don't give me shit.
Yeah, it would be awesome to do. Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, that'd be kind of the most interesting development, I think, is how you do that with, not to overly critique other products, you need to maintain that almost lack of definition and ease of access for people whilst also somehow continuing your world building.
Yeah.
Going forward. So can you talk maybe a little bit about your thoughts on how you might do that? There's obviously all kinds of places in the world you can still explore. You don't have to go into details because I know people are desperate for information on what's happening in China and what's happening in the US, but like, what's next in your brain for a world building apparatus? Like, where can you safely go?
Well, there would be more like game stuff, like game books and things, where we'll tell a little story in the like in the Carcass Front. There's like a campaign, right? So there's like a narrative campaign, so it tells a little story, and there's like a ton of lore in that. It's very cool. Graham has written a ton of really cool stuff. So, yeah, it's going to be mostly like that, I think, for the foreseeable future, like the thing, like game things. And then we're constantly releasing like little lore tidbits when we have time to produce them, and we put them on like the website and everything, and we put them on the socials and stuff. So that's kind of the fun little things, little blurbs and things like that we can do. But I think, for the most part, it's going to be like, we have this narrative campaign coming up. It'll be something like that. So, yeah, that's where most of the lore is going to come from.
Nice.
If that answers your question.
Yeah, something that basically marries quite well with the actual game itself. Gives people further reason to play.
Yeah, I mean, because at the end of the day, it is a game, and people, they like to play the game, but like, to me, it's like there are all these pillars that hold up the game, right? Because if you had the game and it was just Tuomas's rules without any of the flavor, like, it doesn't matter. It wouldn't matter. Like, it's like the three things. It's like the art, the gameplay, and like the lore and world vibes all together make this thing that people get excited about, especially me.
Yeah. No, definitely, it is 100% true. Like, obviously, there's been. I'm assuming it's as we get closer to the actual rule book landing, and that the simple pace of development will have changed now as you're into this new part of the process. But there's been that little slowdown of the lore tidbits dropping.
Yeah.
That is obviously, that's just something that has to happen naturally, I feel, due to the sheer level of work involved in what's going on right now.
Yeah. And like, we have like things planned out in advance, like what gets shared, right? So like, we have certain things that we have to sort of like deliver, and then talk about. So we can't do like lore all the time either, right? So because we actually have to like make stuff.
Yeah.
To so,
what do you mean you can't just do lore all the time? That's not what I want to hear.
Yeah. So like, it's just one of those things where, because in the basically the lead up to the Kickstarter, we were dropping those things pretty regularly. I think it's like every week, I think, or something like that. We were dropping them. But right now, because the company is still really small. There's only 6 of us, I think. And the amount of stuff that we want to do is quite a lot. And so like we need, I think, to get back to that, because I would love to get back to that, like weekly dropping like a cool new art piece, dropping a cool new lore piece or something. We're going to need to hire more people to be able to do that, because everyone's wearing so many hats right now that like until we get more people on board, everything is like, we're just kind of like bailing out the boat as we go, kind of thing.
Yeah, and at this point, that expansion is so delicate.
Yeah.
Like, you have to find the right person for the right moment. And as you said, because you're wearing, like, everybody's wearing so many hats, the person who comes in is gonna like have to be capable of that multitasking vibe too. Like it's very difficult to be a small company. It doesn't actually matter how much money might be available to do fucking anything. The limit is always the bandwidth on, because it's like a kind of video game development. I imagine you've seen the casual answer of just hire more developers. It's like, yeah, but you can only have so many people working on one aspect of the thing, and they will then need to be like overseen, and that will all need to be checked, and so on and so forth. So it's kind of like similar thing.
And then at the end of like, video game industry is notorious for, the project's ended, we've hired 600 additional people. You're laid off.
Good luck.
Yeah. So that never feels good. And so one of the things at Factory Fortress that we want to make sure is that like, if we're going to bring somebody on, they're going to uproot their life in ways that like could affect them if like for whatever reason they would have to get laid off or something. So we're super careful not to just like hire a ton of people, because we want to wait and see like how things are going first, so we don't have to like screw anybody over or anything.
Yeah, wait and see what needs to. I was talking to a creative director of like a very big MMO during the week, and it boiled down to what you actually need in the moment is not always what you think you're going to need. You spend like 4 weeks planning a big like art side project, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna have to like bring in an illustrator or an animator or whatever, and then boom, it's actually like a writer or an accountant or any one of a number of weird things you haven't considered.
Yeah, like customer service, things like that. Has it doesn't really affect the lore or anything, but like you need people like that to help the company run. So these are all the things that like I never thought I'd be thinking about when I first started this project. I just wanted to draw weird little demons.
Well, they say that success is no longer working for anybody else and working for yourself, and then true success is doing what you actually want to do for yourself. So that can be like your next step in your personal evolution. You've left the old working for somebody else behind, and now you just find the time and space to only ever do the thing you want to do.
Yeah. And that's where I'm most, I think, valuable to the company anyway, right? Is doing those things that I'm best at. So kind of everybody's probably like that, but it will happen. It's just we're kind of having like growing pains, I think, at the moment, where there's so much work to do that, like I said, everyone's wearing all these different hats and just kind of like trying to finish these things. So but I'm optimistic for the future.
Nice. Yeah, I think everybody is around. Well, I won't say everybody. There's obviously going to be some people who are like mumbling about fucking everything in this day and age. But as like Trench Crusade has just solved a lot of my problems as somebody who likes to do stuff. I don't know why it fits in my head as well as it does, or I don't know what like the secret sauce is to it, but it just suits me. Fits in my head. I enjoy playing it. I enjoy the lore. I love the art and all the rest of it. And it solves my entire wargaming problem, because I just don't play other wargames now. Like, Trench Crusade has saved me a tremendous amount of money because I've stopped
Oh,
buying
nice.
all kinds of other shit, uh, which is fantastic. I just back every third party community project that I come across that's like Trench Crusade related. Oh, you made like an
Oh, nice.
abominable snowman for Trench Crusade? Here, have some fucking money. So that's
That
been
would be
like
kind of cool.
good for me.
Some kind of some kind of Tibetan some kind of Tibetan creature in the Himalayan mountains roped into the war. It'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, they're the things that I really want to see people doing. I should not talk too much here, I guess. I don't want to like imply anyone in the community has to please me in any way. But my only my only complaint I feel with Trench Crusade is people overly focus on the word trench.
Yeah,
It's like,
it's hard not to.
yeah, it's right there. It's right at the start, and I get it. But like, I just like scrapping it out in like abandoned railways and weird bits of forest and stuff like this. I think I've out of all the writing that I've done, thank you by the way for not like giving out to me when I write shit in the world of Trench Crusade. That's really good. I've had like one fight in a trench. That was it.
Yeah.
Oh, actually no, I had two. In a trench. Everything else has been like somewhere else, somewhere trying to be weird or trying to be normal.
Yeah.
You know, like just the center of a town or something. So
Yeah.
I want to see people in the community do the cryptids. Have you got like a weird legend in your area? Do you live near some famous boar ghost? Put that in your game of Trench Crusade. Let's have it.
Yeah. Yeah, like the Mothman or something.
Yeah, it'd just be a
Trench
huge
Crusade
amount of fun.
would be
'Cause
pretty cool.
demons can look like whatever they want to look like, and
Yeah.
I'm convinced most of the time in the world of Trench Crusade, you're never really looking at what you think you're looking at in the first place when it comes to those freaks. So
No, I agree with you though that the because all the art I had done of like the few locations, there was like I think a couple of trenches, and it had always been my goal to make more than just that. Right. There was like one where all these pilgrims are marching across like a plain to these mountains that are like carved into Gothic shapes.
yeah, that shit's cool.
That's like one of them that's not trenchy, but it was always my intention that because like when I look at some of those amazing Mordheim boards that are like super vertical of this like bombed out city, I wanted to recreate some of that too, because it just looks so great. Because the trench boards they look great, but like a lot of times they're very like flat, and so that's one thing in the future we're going to be doing is having more locations, more art of different locations and stuff that are like not just trenches, right?
Nice. Yeah, I don't know
Because it
what
is
my
a
hang
giant
up
war.
on it is. Um,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like it is such a evocative name, and like it brings to mind all this like horror from the First World War, and it's a very strong theme, and
Yeah.
it looks cool.
it's a hugely strong visual that I mean, we've all, I imagine in almost every country at this point, when you're in school and you're learning history, you're seeing photographs of churned mud, trenches, barbed wire. It's like that's, you're wondering how anybody could go there in the first place. That's kind of one of my more interesting things I like to think about all the time in the world of Trench Crusade is like, who actually does that? Like, who signs up for the Duke's army?
Yeah.
Trench pilgrims, I get they're hearing the voice of God. They're like, really, I gotta go whoop some ass. Okay, I'm out of here. The new Antioch guys, I know people find them a little kind of like plain Jane sometimes. I think they're the hardest guys in the game because there's nothing egging them on other than some sense of it's right to do it, so they do it.
Yeah. I mean, I know in like the Second World War, even the First World War in America, like millions of people volunteered for those wars.
Yeah.
I think I don't think that would be the case. Well, maybe it'd be different, I guess, if it was a similar kind of war. But like millions of people volunteering for a war, in some like the First World War was just like over in Europe. It had really almost nothing to do with America, and and people still volunteered for it, which was I still think is kind of surprising. The Second World War, different. It's different. I could understand that, but the First World War, I was surprised to hear that like millions of guys were volunteering to go fight there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was like a combination of like they just felt like it was their moral duty, or it was like a propaganda effort, or maybe like a mix of kind of all that to get people to go. I know there's a lot of like posters of like these sort of, the Germans are depicted as these sort of like ravening beasts and like dragging women off and stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen any of these posters, but I don't know how much of an effect that would have on people. Like it seems so like obviously propaganda-ish, but maybe it does. I don't know.
I think there was you had that kind of turn of the century effect where a lot of America was being buttoned down and tamed compared to what it had been. And you had a lot of young men, especially at that point, growing up with those penny books that they always used to read, and it was, all the cowboys and all the heroes of the plains, and
right,
shepherding people safely across these like terrible places. And I think when you grow up with that, in a way, you almost want that opportunity to find out if you're that kind of person. It blew my mind watching this shit, but there's a documentary on Netflix just called Marines. And it's about, United States Marines, people in the Marines, and they're talking to two guys who are like light machine gunners. And one of them gives a stat, and he was like, I think like the average lifespan of a light machine gunner in X war was like 9 seconds. Like once you opened up and they knew where you were getting absolutely plinked into non-existence. Mm-hmm. And he looks dead into the camera, and in all seriousness, no joke, this is how his brain works. He said, "I would love to see if I could live longer than that."
Wow.
And I was like, Christ, dude, you're a different animal. Like you're a completely different thing. And that's the mentality that some people just have. It's like, it's terrifying. I could die. Lots of people do die. I'm just built different, man. Put me in. And that's New Antioch to me. That's that entire setup is like, yeah, we're just built different. Fuck it.
Yeah. I mean, and for the New Antioch stuff, like, I mean, hell is literally like on their doorstep. You know what I mean? Like it's like I kind of imagined it like Minas Tirith. You're looking out from the walls of in the movie, and you can literally see like Mordor there, and there's like the fire burning and stuff. And I imagine there's some similar kind of scene from the walls of New Antioch as well. Where you can literally see like there's shit out there. And it's coming to get you.
Yeah, it's all bad. And actually, yeah, I wonder if you can see like discoloration in the sky from the gates.
Yeah, I mean, it would be pretty far, but not that far. I mean, it's like a couple 100 miles, I think. I don't know the actual... I've never checked the actual distance, but...
Yeah, and I don't know physics well enough to say if people would or wouldn't see it. And I'm not going to, because somebody in the comments will know.
Probably, yeah, they did the math.
Yeah, probably somebody from the goddamn House of Wisdom Discord. They do the math.
I guess maybe you could. It's got to be a couple 100 miles. I don't know. Maybe there could be some slight discoloration on the horizon. That seems
a bit of a glow. Cool. Maybe it's something people think they see.
Oh yeah, yeah.
For sure, on a clear night, you can see death looming. But I think. Go ahead. I think. 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 I just feel like you've given something very, very interesting to the wargaming community, and there's a big lesson in how long all this took. You mentioned that like some of the art and stuff was like 8 years old or more. That
Yeah.
all this stuff has been percolating, and no doubt, like had you been able to dedicate to the concept full time, it all would have happened much sooner. But do you think there's a fair argument that it might not have been the same thing if you just sat down with like nothing but free time to create Trench Crusade? Would you have arrived in the same place?
No, I don't think so, because I literally was born out of my sort of like, what's the word? Sort of like, not necessarily unhappiness, but like the disappointment of some of the things I was working on at these video game jobs. That was kind of like the crucible where it was like formed, where it was like a direct reaction to the things I was making. And I was like, they should be more like this. And then so Trench Crusade became that sort of like, this is what it should be. Like, you could make something like this and it would be really interesting, to me anyway. And so why don't we do these sorts of things? And of course, no video game company is going to be into that, right? So, but yeah, like if I had just, had unlimited money and was able to just draw whatever I want, I don't know if I would have had that same feeling, and so I kind of needed that sort of, I don't know, sometimes it's like spite, where it's like, you don't know what you're talking about, I'll show you how it's done. That's a big motivator sometimes. And then there's like, and then there's just like looking at stuff in the sort of like overall entertainment industry and being like, man, that would have been so cool if you did it this way, and doing that instead. So it is a big reaction from me of all those things. So I don't think it would have been the same. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny with the whole "you should have done it this way" thing. I'm terrible when we're watching TV shows, me and my wife, and there'll be a scene, and I'll like wait for the scene to end, and I'll go, "Oh, if they had just changed this like one thing," like as if I'd know, like as if I have any experience or kind of right to tell professionals what they should and shouldn't have done. But like I think we all kind of feel that way when we're watching, when we're it's not dismissive. I don't think loving something or really being into something as art or a product or a hobby or whatever people want to do, blind acceptance of the thing is not good.
Yeah.
Sitting there and wanting to kind of make it your own and improve on it, it obviously leads to some pretty good things for a lot of people, because the story you tell of just being in work and having that like discontent feeling,
that's the word, discontent,
with what you're doing, that's echoed by like so many people in so many creative spaces, like musicians and producers and directors. They all just feel that thing of, this isn't it. It's not really what I want.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're watching and you feel that, just create, do something, like write, draw, sing, dance, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a million different motivators that people can have, but for me, it was that sort of like spite. I will show what it could be. I'll do it the right way.
Yeah. No, it paid off. It worked. The game is there, and like, it's not a fluke that it did well. Like, there's oftentimes the mistake that people make when they're examining a success story will be that like it seems like an aberration, but they treat it that way for the wrong reasons. Mm-hmm. Like they see it as somehow being lucky that the market forces worked for it, when instead it was always going to work because it wasn't worried about market forces.
Yeah, that could be true. I mean, I do think we were pretty lucky to have like the team that we got and like the amazing like response and all the people playing the game. Like the rules being free, I think was like a really big
Yes.
part of it. Like I don't think we would be talking at all right now if it wasn't for that decision that Tuomas had, you know, which I think was a really smart call, because it's just like, oh yeah, you're interested in this? Maybe you saw some cool art. Oh yeah, the rules are free. You know, the lore is free. You can read it right now. So that I think was the one really smart like kind of move on our team's part. So
it was definitely hugely beneficial because it didn't present people with an instant roadblock. No one's first instinct when seeing a new game is to instantly just like horse over a load of money. You want to explore it. Everybody, I mean, Jesus, right now everybody's working with like limited budgets, by and large. So being able to just check and see, do I like these rules in concept? How does this lore read in concept? Gives people, that allows them to make an informed decision with what they want to do.
Yeah. I mean, I was on Steam yesterday kind of hunting around for a new game to play, and I was even like, I'm reading the review on like $1. Like it was like $1. The game was $1, and I'm like, do I really want to spend $1 on this? Like, but it's like almost no money at all. I probably could have just bought it, but I was literally reading the reviews of it to see if it was worth the money or not.
Yeah, it just makes sense to do it. $1's $1. Every dollar counts. Yeah. Spend $1 a day. It'll all add up.
It does, yeah.
Alrighty. I think that will be a natural end. Warning a bunch of people who ultimately are consumers to watch what they do with their dollars is always I'm a very like consumer focused guy on this channel. I'm always telling people how to like stop their YouTube feeds from being garbage, and sometimes that means they have to like unsub from me. That's fine. Like, you know, look after yourself. Like, don't engage with the stuff that's not kind of floating your boat in that moment. So yeah, that's a good message. Just if there's anything you want to say to the folks who end up watching, feel free.
Well, you know, thanks for all your interest in our game, and you know, I try hop on Reddit sometimes and read all the fan theories and stuff like that, and it's always very fun that there are these like what do you call it, like theological discussions going on about this, it is a game, so it always is very entertaining to me that there are these like rich theological discussions happening. So yeah, more of that, please. I find those very entertaining.
Nice. Perfect. I know people who will be delighted to know that you like those and will now be constantly bothering me with theories. Alrighty. So folks, that's it for the video. Huge thanks, Mike, for coming on and
yeah, thanks for having me on.
Chatting it up. We're all very excited for the future and what that might bring to the world you're creating. So thank you.